Right, there you go. That little UV light wasn't really bright enough, was it, for a good thumbnail? But I thought I'd do that. I got less lights on today because I thought it'd just be a bit creepier if we're doing a theme stream with less lights on. But as yesterday's stream was so good, I thought we'd do it again. I'd done those months ago, years ago, theme streams, like paranormal ones. So the idea is basically just most of the stream will be themed around creepy stories, whether it be aliens, UFOs, you know, paranormal stuff, ghosts, you know, anything like that, just because a lot of people find it interesting, just weird stories they've heard, stuff like that. Because I think yesterday when we did that sort of slightly conspiracy themed stream, the bit that most people wanted to talk about was ghosts and aliens. So hello Altrix, hello Joseph, shalom to you, peace to you. Hello Maximus, call sign Jesus, Provider Gaz, Deutsch Gopnik, Arctic Fox. But yeah, so basically the idea of these streams is just that, you know, it's got more of a theme to it. So it's mostly just going to be talking about creepy stuff. Right, let me know if the rain noise is annoying to anybody, because I've got headphones near the microphone with rainy mood on, but I don't know if it will sound good or bad. Lena said, the Greys gave me COVID and it makes me immune to homosexuality. Please buy the book and the crystals. Is this an Alex Jones or David Icke thing? But we're not really talking so much about conspiracy theories on this one, AK-47, unless they're actually really creepy ones. You know, it was mostly just because yesterday when we did that themed conspiracy one, the best bit of it was when people wanted to talk about paranormal stuff. All right, if you can't hear it, it doesn't matter. It might be the noise cancellation on the microphone so good it's not actually letting you hear it. It's just I thought I'd put the headphones with the rainy noise on near the microphone to add a bit of ambience. But the thing is, though, with the Russian sleep experiment is it's just a pretty much a known creepypasta. It doesn't bother me too much, but it's just the annoying thing is when people keep claiming it's real. If you're being serious, Altrix, have you ever looked up shadow people? Because if you look up like shadow people, shadow persons, the Hat Man and all that, that's quite creepy. Of like basically almost like solid 3D shadows. But I actually find like shadow people are quite a creepy thing if you read into them. Right, let me link you then. So shadow people. See if there's a paranormal. Yeah, here we go. So Altrix. It's often related with sleep paralysis, but it's that thing. If you look that up, it's quite an interesting thing to read into. You know, if you actually assumed it's real, because obviously a lot of people just go, no, it's fake, it didn't happen, blah, 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 blah. There's theories between, like, alternative dimensions, where there's people, like, crossing over, but they're not fully formed. You know, malevolent, how it's pronounced, malevolent spirits. I mean, yeah, because I'm saying, like, lots of this stuff you can rationally explain it, can't you? The mind's playing tricks, you hallucinated something, you know, some of the people are making it up. You could say lots of stuff like that, but, you know, for the theme of this stream, it'd be nice to explore some of this stuff. Oh, yeah, Black-Eyed Children are pretty creepy, aren't they, Tony Draper? Weirdly, they're lumped in a bit with the Men in Black kind of stuff. But the Black-Eyed Children, for people that don't know, is where apparently people have somebody knock on their door or, like, knock on their car window, and there's a kid that's really off-putting, saying, like, you need to let me in or you need to take me somewhere, you know, stuff like that. And then all the people who tell the story always say, like, they refuse because they felt something was really wrong. And then just before they, like, slam the door or whatever, they noticed that the children had, like, black eyes rather than, like, real eyes. What is Skinwalker Ranch? Can you give a TLDR, Jim? If not, I'll have to look into it. But it's one that gets brought up a lot. I know what Skinwalkers are and all the sort of Wendigo type things, but is it related to that? I'll definitely have to look into Siren Head at some point, because loads of people keep mentioning it at the moment. Now, what's the Blackbird of Chernobyl, Mr. Knox? Is that a bit like a Mothman type thing? Like Mothman at Point Pleasant? Well, those people never tell the story, Altrix, so it could be it's never happened, or it could be they're dead, you know. But in all honesty, it's probably just, you know, like a couple of people have seen it. Some people might be making it up. Yeah, just about still light outside. That ruins the ambience, though, if I open the curtains up. But that's the problem. Theme streams like this are a lot better in the winter when it's dark and stormy outside. Doesn't Norway have a lot of cave troll type legends like that as well, you know? I think that's like quite a Scandinavian thing, isn't it? Like cave trolls and sort of weird sort of things like that. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to look into Siren Head because loads of people keep mentioning it recently. I've not seen the Black Room Soup. No, it's a very strange name for a creepypasta, isn't it? To be honest, White Wolf, I'd find those sort of trolls a lot more interesting than just the ones that are like, "Hope you die, I'm gonna sue you," in the comments, you know. When did the Siren Head game come out? Because again, it sounds familiar. Deutsch Gopnik keeps spamming Baba Yaga. That's the Russian witch, isn't it, with the house on chicken legs? Babadook. Yeah, I've seen Babadook, an all-important creature. Babadook was a lot better than I thought it was going to be when I eventually got round to watching Babadook. So I don't know, for ages I put off watching it because I thought it was going to be one of those just, jump scare everywhere kind of things. But Babadook I really enjoyed. The only issue with Babadook is there's a bit in there where the woman is watching TV and there's meant to be like a TV hijack kind of thing with the Babadook stuff turning up. But because I'm nerdy enough into films, I realised like, oh, that's the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and it was like stuff like that. I was like, that sort of takes the immersion out a bit. There was something else I'm sure I'd seen as well that she was watching on there. I've not seen the remake of the Evil Dead, Morgan, but I like the old Evil Dead films. Obviously, the original Evil Dead is more of a horror, isn't it? And then Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are more like action sort of comedy films. Who's Leloyon? Then let's Google him. Oh, it's the person with the Alpenflage on the gas mask in the Swiss woods, isn't it? Or whatever it was. But in reality, all it's going to be is just somebody dressing up in the woods, isn't it? But yeah, Alpenflage camo and a gas mask. I recognise the Milsurp. Probably a Swiss SM67 or SM74 and Alpenflage camo. Let me look up Trevor Henderson then. Is that related to Jim Henderson? Or is it completely unrelated 11HHH30? Let me, That's annoying. It says he has a wiki page, but as soon as I click on the wiki page, it doesn't load up anything. It's creepy. It says, Trevor Henderson is a Canadian illustrator, artist, and writer, commonly known for his horror-related work. Trevor has released several books and graphic novels. He's also known for creating various internet cryptids such as Siren Head, Cartoon Cat, Long Horse, and many more. But annoyingly, as soon as I click on his Wikipedia page, there's nothing on there. But yeah, sounds like he's done some cool stuff. Some of his stuff as well kind of reminds me of that Stephen King, The Mist, or whatever it's called. The creepy one, Altrix, is, have you seen the original Amityville Horror? Because that was the one bit in the original Amityville I find really creepy when, the girl's like Jodie's outside or whatever, and then there's like the glowing eyes and like the psycho-style music plays. White Wolf says, I use my gas mask while cleaning the drainage of my showers today. I needed to use pretty strong chemicals to clean pipes, so I use my gas mask for it. That works. Make sure you obviously use vapor filters, not just particle filters if you're doing that, because unlike COVID, you need vapor filters if you're working with chemicals and of the right type, whatever the vapor is. But yeah, it's good use for gas masks. That's a nice thing with them. If you've got one lying around, you can use them for all sorts of DIY shit. And Connor says, have you seen the Enfield Haunting series? It was really good. Which series? Because there's several based on that. Because I know the Enfield Haunting was the thing about like the two sisters, wasn't it, in a house in Enfield in London, where there was like poltergeist activity. But I know there's been so many adaptations of it. Some are like really over the top, stuff. And I know some of them are probably more realistic. Are there any that are like closer to Ghostwatch levels of being creepy? Because that would be good. Ghostwatch is a really good recommendation, by the way, for people who've not seen it. If you like old sort of found footage style horror, back in the 90s, and it had that sort of shot on VHS quality, which makes found footage all the better. I bookmarked it, White Wolf, but I didn't check it out today just because I didn't really think to do it today. Had a bit of a lay-in today. Helped my dad do some essential shopping. Filmed a video to go on in a couple of days' time, because I've got that video for you, White Wolf, going on tomorrow. And then I think I did some other random shit that, wasn't very important, just, stuff around the house. I know I did a bit of cleaning and polishing. I really don't know, Shallow Bay. I definitely believe there's more than what we can perceive or understand at the moment. Whether that means it's ghosts or it just means it's, something, like residual memory, some sort of frequencies we can't understand. For me, the scariest gas masks are the old World War II US optical masks, I'd say, but I can never remember the name of them. Let me just get you a picture up. US World War II optical gas mask. And I don't want World War 22, like I typed. They're the ghost people masks in Fallout New Vegas as well. Let's see if I can get a picture of one up. Or D&B Militaria have a page on them, but I don't know if they've actually got that one in. And D&B is really expensive for gas masks, which is a bit of a shame. But they do have the one in I was thinking of. This is the main one I was thinking of, if they've got a picture of it at a good angle. But yeah, it's just personally, I'll just link to the page. I wouldn't personally pay like hundreds of pounds for it, but let's have a look at the Soviet SVCH suit then. Oh, is that the microwave one? For people. Yeah, that's actually for working near electrical fields or something, isn't it? Or like radio antennas. It reminds me a bit of the Ice Warriors from the really old Doctor Who episodes. But yeah, I know the one you mean. I've seen some on eBay, but they're like over £100, and I wasn't going to pay that for them. But I think they're like more to stop you getting electrocuted or something, those suits. The Gas Man. Ooh, what's that about? Do you know about the Mad Gasser of Multoon or Maltoon, whatever it's called? That's quite interesting. Yeah, I personally think Ghost Watch is a really creepy thing, Mike, like how they did it, especially like how, although it's... Because I think back in the day, you could do a lot more found footage stuff without people kind of, immediately knowing it was fake, especially when it was kind of aired on television. Right, for those of you that don't know what Ghost Watch was, it's a thing the BBC did like in the 90s, I think it was. And what they did is they basically had like an Enfield-style haunted house, that was basically about like a single mum and a couple of girls or something in a house. And there was meant to be all this paranormal stuff, and it was like a film crew going around, and then they cut to the studio and all that. But what they did is they'd have a bit where they'd have the ghost basically turn up on the film, and then they'd say they were doing a replay of it because it was like a fake live broadcast, and then the ghost wouldn't be there, and it was like really to fuck with people watching it. Like, obviously, if you watch it now and you know all that, it's not as creepy. But I think if you were watching it at the time, you'd see Mr. Pipes, who was the ghost, like standing against the curtain, in one scene, and then they'd be like, "Oh, people have phoned in and said they saw something in that, so we're going to play back the footage," and then the ghost wouldn't be there, and they'd do stuff like that. I don't know, Deutsch saying. Oh, in World War One, Chris, but yeah, they were pretty badass, weren't they? But I suppose if you've been wounded and you're probably gonna die, it's like the whole walking ghost thing to do with nuclear weapons, which is one of the reasons the neutron bomb was never really properly developed or used, because the idea is if you had a weapon that gave people acute radiation syndrome, so they die from it, a lot of soldiers, if they knew they'd been exposed to it, would probably say, "Look, we're dead in a few days anyway. Let's just do like a banzai kind of charge and like just do absolutely horrible things to any enemies we capture." Hence why, they kind of decided it wasn't worth using, because you don't really want a bomb that, where soldiers, if they've been exposed to it, know they'll be dead in a few days and then don't care what they're going to do anymore. As in boring real life stuff, tactical reload, as in somebody's pulled a knife on me to attempt to mug me kind of thing, or more interesting, like seeing creepy shit which nothing really happened because of it. But, because in real life, I think there's two kind of scary things. One is real life, financial problems and, like real life crime and stuff like that. And then there's kind of the more, like creepy stuff you've seen that doesn't end up going anywhere, Yeah, I know about YouTube demonetization, Connor. Some of my videos fall under it. Although the nice thing is YouTube have relaxed a lot of that now. Yeah, Briggs, if you didn't hear what I mentioned earlier, the ghost people in New Vegas actually have US World War II optical masks on, which we were just on about. No, neutron bombs were developed for Arctic warfare. They just weren't very practical for real-world applications. The idea is that basically the idea comes more from low-yield nuclear weapons, because if you have a high-yield, say like hydrogen bomb, the fireball and the destructive radius is greater than the radioactive radius. I mean, ignoring fallout that might come later. But basically, the neutrons don't shoot out as far as the actual fireball goes, or like the thermal blast, with the heat flash. So, with a neutron bomb, they have a lot less destructive yield than hydrogen bombs. But old atomic bombs, a lot of them would put neutrons and gamma rays out to a further extent than the heat blast would go in the wind. So basically, the idea of the neutron bomb was developed to have a nuclear weapon that would have the lowest possible explosive yield, but would pump out neutron and gamma rays as far as possible. But again, like I said, there was lots of practicality concerns with them. It wasn't so much it's evil and we shouldn't use them. It was more, it's probably not very tactically sensible to use. Briggs says, I have a scary urban legend which will scare all ex-British service members. Someone forgot to forward assist. What, you mean like on the L85, how you can't forward assist it with the A1 or whatever it was? Yeah, Jim, the real story of that wasn't somebody like a couple driving along and they saw a body being dumped and then they investigated and there were several bodies. Like the very first bit of Jeepers Creepers is the real bit. Not like the human bat scarecrow monster thing and the entire human tapestry thing. But I think there was an old church, wasn't there, where a guy was dumping bodies there. It was like the serial killer sort of dump site. Sort of dirty bombs, though, work grim with the idea that they basically create lots of radionuclides as dust that gets spread everywhere. Say like cobalt-60, cesium-137, stuff like that. A neutron bomb is actually through its detonation, the neutron shooting out from it. But both of them, kill through radiation exposure. That's the easy way of understanding it. No, I've never seen a UFO. I thought I did once culture of critique, and it was one of those, Chinese lanterns that floats, because from a distance, they're completely silent. They obviously move with the wind direction, and all you can see is the glow, so it was like a light, doing that in the wind at a distance. But yeah, it turned out it was a Chinese lantern. Phil says stop talking about that, and he didn't specify what. But yeah, it is interesting. Oh, was that in the chat, George, or Discord? Sorry, let me load it up, and I'll read it if you want me to. So George says, so this story took place on my first tour. Are you all right with me reading it out, George? Actually, I better check that before I read it out. Right, cheers. I'll read it out. He says, so the story took place on my first tour in Afghanistan. We were in Kandahar province. So one night, my buddy Michael and I were on guard duty. The previous night, we had taken AK fire from the mountains, so we expected to have shots fired at us again. But we were sitting there, and it was about 3 a.m., and we think we hear a group of footsteps to our right in the area we called the hunting ground. But anyway, we walk over to search it, and so that shone our torches and see nothing. So we went back to our posts, and about 20 minutes later, we hear it again, and again saw nothing. So it was about 2 hours later, so 5 a.m.-ish, and we think we hear it again. So we both go ready to engage what we thought were insurgents. But then but what we saw shocked us to the core. I can only describe it as a group of very blurry men in traditional Muslim clothing. We yelled at them to identify, and they just immediately disappeared. We went and told our CO, and he didn't believe us. But to this day, my friend and I guess that's my friend and I know what we saw and hold to our story. And that's really creepy. There's meant to be quite a lot of stuff like that, isn't there? In various like kind of war scenarios where people think they see like what they think might be enemy soldiers or soldiers or whatever with clothing that doesn't look right for the time, and they just go. But Tom W999 asked me on Discord just now, can you make a Discord channel for conspiracies and talking about stuff like alien ghosts? Yes, after this stream I'll do that. Remind me so I don't forget, but that's a good idea actually. A few people keep saying Black Room Soup. I've not read it, but it sounds like it'd be something that interests people. But what channel was it in where people said they posted the never mind. I can't show them on here anyway because I've not got like OBS running, so it's not like I can get a picture to kind of take up a quarter of the screen. Oh, we were on about I feel fantastic. We were on about that yesterday, Fox Sickness. But yeah, that's interesting as well. But yeah, people can bring that up because that fits into the creepy stuff, doesn't it? Where people just find weird, unexplained YouTube videos. Mihalio keeps saying there is a Serbian creepypasta called The Psychiatrist. If it's good, I'll read it. I mean, I don't know why you're spamming the chat with that, Dax, because I don't know what it's regarding. Oh, cool. What channel was it in? I missed that, but... The fat gent said £4.99. Thank you very much. I am a good thank you. How are you? I mean, I don't know what's urgent about it, in all honesty, because if it was something you could say it on here, couldn't you? But because people, want to dox me and stuff like that, I don't know why I just give, random people my ID. Yeah, there's deep and dark web, isn't there? But again, a lot of it is kind of, I think, like media stuff like, oh, did you hear there's a scary internet that you can't normally access? I'll have to look into Kanye Quest properly. I opened a few tabs yesterday and started looking through some of them, and then I ended up doing something else. That's interesting, George, but I've heard there's been a lot of things similar to that in certain places, Like, I can't really give you examples, but, where I've heard stories of people in certain places kept repeating they'd heard similar things. Like, the interesting one, well, one of my favourite, like, ghost stories from the UK, because this is kind of one of the ones that almost checks out, was there was a bloke who was an electrician, and he was working in, like, the basement or the cellar of, like a town hall type building. And was... What was it? Like, he was it was like a town hall or like a manor house kind of building, yeah? So he's in the cellar sort of basement from it. Yeah, please don't spam chat with shit like that then, please. Anyway, what were we getting at before somebody's trying to just throw me off the entire stream? So yeah, he's in the basement, basically. And he starts hearing a noise, and he can't work out where it's coming from. He said it sounds like a car horn or, or like a brass sort of noise. So basically, he starts hearing this sort of, like noise in the distance. And it's getting closer and closer. And then he sees what he thinks look like Roman soldiers marching on their knees, right? This is the important bit, marching on their knees through the basement. And then basically, what ends up happening is, you know, he tells this story to people that he sees what look like these ghostly Roman soldiers marching through the basement. And then says, yeah, basically tells people, and they all say he's, you know, making it up. So for years, people laugh at him and they don't believe him. And then, like, years and years later, they're excavating a bit of the basement, and they found, like, slightly like a foot or two below the road, an old ancient Roman road. So basically, if they were marching on the road, their legs would have been at that height. It had nothing to do with them really marching on their knees, though. It was because the original road was, like, that much below it. Random not attacker person says, I have interesting story. Once I was sitting in church and I felt being watched. I turned around my head and saw a little boy in a corner, but his skin was really pale and he had shadow under his eyes. And what, did he disappear? That's still quite weird, isn't it? Stone Tape, that's like a short film, isn't it? Like TV episode done by Nigel Neal, isn't it? Where it's like a thing replaying over and over and over. Yeah, that's the interesting thing, Mike, isn't it? Because a lot of that is, you know, I can believe stuff a lot like that, especially when somebody says something, everybody laughs at them at the time. And then, you know, later on, you know, somebody ends up doing something that proves them right. Phil says he was in the basement fixing a furnace and a ghost slapped my ass. Well, I don't sell anything on eBay, so if they're claiming to be me, they're lying, aren't they? Although people do sometimes use pictures from my videos to sell stuff on eBay, and there's nothing I can do about that. Because again, I don't want to get shitty, right, and derail the stream. It's like when people are saying, somebody's saying this about you, somebody's saying that about you online. I really don't give a shit. You know, don't feed the trolls. It's only when it comes down to like proper illegal stuff that I then... Yeah, B-Store's allowed to use them though, because if you don't know, Briggs, I've bought loads of stuff or, you know, been sent stuff by B-Store before. That's why lots of the time there's pictures from my videos on their account. That's creepy, Chris, but I've heard lots of stuff from that sort of thing before. You know, like where somebody at certain times a day or like certain times a month, they always hear a similar noise in a similar place. No, I've never heard of those 11HHH30, but that sounds kind of interesting. That person, sorry, was just spamming the chat with a few comments, and as they just kept carrying on where it's nothing related to the chat, you know. Is it proved, though, Fox, that they are old pictures? Because I could quite easily imagine somebody getting a really old picture, photoshopping it, and then claiming it's the original. The funny thing, right, is that where there's somebody saying he's posted my address, that's not even my address. So yeah, they're now trying to dox my address in the stream. It's not actually even my address. I want to actually Google what he's put there now. Yeah, I actually want to see what this address is, because it's not even my address. Is it somewhere even close to me? A few miles away from me, but not even my address, so I don't know what that has to do with me. But as I said, it's somebody being weird, but... Ah, okay, so Culture Critique says those closed from around that time, but... Well, you're completely off topic there, War Video. I don't really care, as said, you know. But again, like I said, this is where I can get quite pissed off in these streams where you're trying to talk about something and have fun, and then you keep getting people just keep bringing up shit nobody wants to talk about. Yeah, but what if there are ghosts and it means that we're trapped on Earth after we die, like we're permanently suspended there? Several people, Sparrow, but there's more one person who keeps coming on saying like, "Oh, you need to add me for a private thing because you're going to get doxxed," and then the address he's giving out isn't even my address anyway. So, you know, so it's a bit pathetic, isn't it? But... You don't know what the other places are like compared to Earth, though, do you, Briggs? Oh yeah, old dolls and shit are very spooky, Peach. Not as far as I'm aware, Arctic Warfare. Oh yeah, Robert the doll is really creepy fox sickness. Yeah, Robert the doll is the doll. It's somewhere in Florida, isn't it? Where it was meant to be owned by like the child of quite a rich person, or who somebody was like a painter or something, and it was one where the doll keeps moving in the museum. You can actually hear it AK-47. A lot of people said they couldn't. I just had Rainy Mood on. Yeah, clown dolls are creepy as well. No, they never found out who Jack the Ripper was. There's a few theories on it, but there's none that are thanks. The thing is, if somebody on here is trying to blackmail me, but they don't even get my personal info, right? It's a bit shit, isn't it? But yeah, for those of you that don't know, there's somebody who sounds like they're trying to blackmail me by giving out my personal details, but they're not even getting them right. For any mods that are on, can you actually report them properly, though? Because, you know, what they're doing is illegal, even though it's not my address. But I'll actually report them. Which one would it fall under? Probably harassment, I assume. Done. That's interesting, Connor. I don't know, Peach. Whatever creeps you out more, I'd say. What, like the MD3 cheats? The Mericinium will set it off. All right, cool, will do, Chris. Thank you very much. Greystone method. Right. The price and payoff of becoming a grey rocket. It's not really related to the stream, but it is because of the person spamming it. He said, one strategy of dealing with a narcissist or sociopath is to act like a grey rock, meaning that you become uninteresting and unresponsive. Using the grey rock method, your objective is to make someone lose interest in you. So it's basically don't feed the trolls, isn't it? I'll read that properly later, but good advice. Wow, yes, no, I don't sell anything like that, but you'd have to look up pitch blend on eBay and see what it costs in general. Briggs, oh, I've heard that story too in some regard. Yeah, don't time that person out, get rid of them totally. Oh, that's interesting. So Dylan says Apollo 10 astronauts, when they went around the dark side of the moon, they heard weird music and they didn't report it to Mission Control. Strange. So how did they? Was it reported by those same astronauts later on? Yeah, Ouija boards or Ouija boards, whatever they're called. Yeah, the ones that meant to talk to ghosts. I in all honesty, don't believe that sort of thing. You know, I can certainly understand why some people would not want to mess with them. You know. HHH30 says there's a spirit that haunts screen 3 of the cinema I work at. Everyone has their own experiences, including me. One dude at work was hit by it so hard in the back that he fell on the stairs. Oh, that's creepy. No, Verna, the only way, unless you know the proper sizing guide for an individual mask, is to basically just use the GP5 sizing guide and then basically translate it as closely to possible, you know, as other things. Oh, thank you very much, MG. He says, I read that soldiers that were in the modern Afghanistan conflict heard and seen Russian soldiers in full 1980s Afghanska gear near their posts at night, although their nods, through their nods while on patrol. But yeah, that's sort of creepy, isn't it? Again, I think that goes back again, like we were saying, didn't it, with some of the earlier things where people saw things that looked like from the wrong time period. War videos, is that sort of the thing that's like in the Lord of the Rings with the swamps in the Two Towers? Like the marshes, the dead marshes, whatever it was. Henry says, my friend's little sister made a person using coats and ripped off doll heads and thought that it was funny, hanging it all on the backside of a washroom door facing the mirror. I suppose if you didn't know it was there, that could be a bit creepy if you suddenly saw it in the dark. Yeah, if you watch the stream back, MG, George's ghost story from Afghanistan's on here, which is pretty good that I read out. Are the Chu Chi tunnels non-important creature like the Viet Cong type things? I haven't done recently, Peach. Some years I've been to like parties and that for it, but what's the red zone then? Is that a bit of Afghanistan or what? Because I know normally like there's places like the green zone and all stuff like that, isn't there, to do with that? But at the moment, the red zone just literally means the parts of like Europe that are bad with coronavirus. Hopefully not White Wolf, because if they had the space travel to get to us, it would end very quickly, wouldn't it? Okay. Arctic Warfare 50 says the red zones are zones of severe terrorist activities. They're also apparently where Corona's really bad, aren't they? So I guess red zone just means severe or like critical. Well, the old Yugo M1 Onte. I mean, it's horribly out of date, but I know a lot of nations use old masks. I haven't seen that, but I'll look it up, George. Sounds interesting. I've seen some creepy things where there's oh yeah, that's kind of creepy. Like, yeah, there's smoke coming from a shell. I've seen sort of things like that from bomb smoke where it looks like kind of a silhouette of a person. But... yeah, I was just sitting very still, Peppy the Frog. Yeah, it's the inflated GP5 man again. No, I don't think ghosts are radioactive, BC, unfortunately. The real ones, Jack, or just the weirdos we get in these ones? Oh, that's alright, bots. You've missed the troll trying to post my address online, but he was so shit that every time he came back, he still didn't get my address right. So, you know. But that's what you missed, bots, if you're wondering. That's a great price for an FM12. Again, completely unrelated to ghosts and aliens and zombies, isn't it? But Prelude in C minor by Rachmaninoff. Right, I'll look that up. So it's the old piano bit, is it? If I can get it to there we go. So what are ghost tapes then? I know the ghost tapes is in the Vietnam sort of Operation Wandering Soul or whatever it is. As in what's scarier, Peach? I think with films, slow zombies, because that's the kind of thing that they're eventually going to get you no matter what. But in reality, I think fast zombies would be creepier just because, you know, they're fast. The soundtrack to the original Shining, no. White Wolf was Wendy Carlos, wasn't it? Or Walter Carlos, depending on if it was before or after he had his sex change. I can't remember, but Although I know, like, a lot of the music in The Shining is kind of like sampled and just put through synths. And that's kind of creepy, Joey. I mean, it's horrible, isn't it? But I can understand why somebody would do something like that rather than letting them starve or whatever. I'm trying to think, but I don't think Sexual Tyrannosaurus, there is much like European stuff that's meant to be like kind of skinwalkers and wendigos and all that. I mean, I'm sure there's some mythical things in certain parts of Europe of like, wolves or big boars in the forest type things, but I don't think there is really any. I know there's like some old Fey kind of legend type things, but nothing. That's creepy, Chino. And I've heard there's a few sort of bunkers, isn't there, where there's meant to be like ghost stories or army bases of like suicides in certain places of the bases. That's all right, Peach. I already searched it up, so it's in a tab. So I'm going to look at it after the stream. Yeah, I've read quite a lot of alien abduction type things, Dagoff. I mean, ones that are like which ones are real or not, or like if any are real, you don't know, do you? What did I say that sounded like a rap, Henry? Don't know if you'd find ghosts in Chernobyl, George. Yeah, I suppose it's a creepy place to do something like that, but I think with a lot of the ghost hunting stuff, there's definitely a line, isn't there, where you need to think, is it being disrespectful to people that have died somewhere? That's sort of interesting, Punch monster if there was any truth to it. But yeah. Good on him, Nathan. Adam says, are you in a van? Obviously not. Wow, what an amazing username. I didn't even get a chance to see him, Peach, but very fast action there. But, yeah. Right. Is there any interesting stuff to bring up before we finish the stream? Let me look that up, Noodles, if it's an actual real thing. The Big Grey Man of Ben Macuday. I'm butchering that, aren't I? But let's look that one up. Amphialiath Moor. In Scottish folklore, Amphialiath Moor is the name of a presence of a creature which is said to haunt the summit and passes of Ben Macdwy, and the highest peak of the Cairngorms and the second highest peak in Scotland. So it's not Ben Nevis, it's the second biggest one. That's sort of interesting. So it's meant to be like a big kind of weird thing that's in the mountains. That's a good one. I sadly can't play stuff easily on stream just because I've not got OBS installed. That's a real shame, Rap Gods. But yeah, I've heard stuff like that where people say something's happened to a relative or something and they feel something at the exact moment it happens. No, I was looking at some creepy pasta type games, Peach, like the one where the guy's fishing and there's like a body in the lake. There's that one. What other ones did I look at? There's one where it's like an empty server, and then the longer you're playing on the empty server, there's like a weird ghost that keeps appearing. If you mean a radiation meter, Adam, you probably mean things like Geiger counters and dosimeters, don't you? Yeah, I've been to Kelvin and Hatch, which is the UK's biggest one, Philip. Well, not necessarily the biggest, but it was the one like built for central government, or like a lot of government ministers and military. So it's the one near London, but not actually in London. Only when there was that rain from Chernobyl, Chris. I didn't even realise, Henry. Sounds a bit like the one in New Vegas, doesn't it? Punch Monster of Joshua Graham, whatever it is. The Burned Man. Yeah, there's probably some really creepy bunkers. I think the creepiest bunkers are like the really old, massive civil defense type ones that they are expecting hundreds of people to be in. If a nuke went off, and then I'll be off in a couple of minutes. AK-47, in all honesty, because I'll be on Weapon Collector's stream later. Yeah, I'll be off in a minute. I was just seeing if there was any more sort of interesting comments coming up. Yeah, I've watched a load of videos of people urban exploring old Soviet bunkers, and that's especially the ones where they crawl through like tiny air ducts to get into rooms of it, and you think, oh Christ, imagine if you got stuck in an air duct, in a bunker and nobody knew you were there. Right. See you all then. If most people are going off now, I will be on Weapon Collector's stream later on, but otherwise, see you all whenever. Yeah, thanks everybody. Yeah, see you all. Goodbye. Good evening. As long as it wasn't one white wolf that would cut off your vision too much to the point you'd trip over or something and, could injure yourself that way. But if you're in somewhere where there might be old bits of asbestos or like weird, stuff in the air, that probably would be a good idea, I imagine. Yeah, see you all. Have a good evening. Goodbye.